All right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smithy with another GSD Mode podcast weekly real estate tip, where every single week I come to delivering different tips, tactics, and strategies that I've learned in my 20-year-long real estate journey that have allowed me to become one of the top realtors and team leaders on the planet, with selling well over 7,000 homes and sharing this information with you here in hopes that you take this information in, that you take massive action on it, and go out there and create that real estate business and life that you truly know that you want and deserve. All right, so today I'm here to talk to you about how to handle objections inside your real estate business and break down some proven techniques to be able to move things forward. Look, it's really important as a real estate agent, as a real estate professional, that you know how to lead the process. And a mistake that so many make inside of our industry is they think about objections just when it comes to lead gen and lead follow-up. But look, you are going to experience objections. Objections is just another word for concerns. So we got to be able to identify what the root objections, root concerns are, and continue leading the process forward. And you're going to experience these at all different stages throughout the real estate process. Yeah, look, you're going to get them. They're going to come up, of course, in your lead gen, your lead follow-up, like meaning those activities exist as set appointments. They're going to come up when you are conducting your appointments, your buyer consultations, listing presentations. And look, everything that I'm going to cover today, even though I might be giving more examples specific to buyers and sellers, but these techniques 100% apply to team leaders and broker owners, recruiting agents as well. So it's all, we're just talking about how to have effective conversations and keep that conversation, keep that process moving forward with another human being. That's what we are really talking about here. But then from there, okay, now you got this client, right? Okay, there might become a concern, AKA objection, with moving forward with a property or accepting an offer or during inspections, or during the final walkthrough, right? These are going to come up at all different phases, of the overall process, of the overall transaction, at all these different stages. So it's really important for us to know these techniques so we can keep this stuff moving forward with our clients, help them accomplish their real estate goals. So then that way you can also accomplish your real estate goals. The more people that we help, the more that we're able to go out there and make our goals a reality. So I really have two different techniques I'm going to cover with you here today. One is what I call the 4-part objection handling framework. So then regardless of the objection, you know how to specifically handle that objection. But then from there on part 2, I'm going to walk you through just different communication skills that I recommend that you acquire and master that will help you move this forward with, again, because all we're talking about here is our ability to identify and then unpack and move forward any objections and or concerns. And when I jump into these communication skills, how to even avoid objections coming up in the first place. Because the easiest way to overcome objections is just to structure the conversation in a way where they just don't come up in the first place, which I'll walk you through that. Now, real quick, before we jump into this, make sure to go check out www.gsdmode.com. And on there are 2 actions I highly encourage you to go out there and take immediately. So action number 1 is I recommend that you sign up for my 100% free in-depth masterclass that I'm hosting right now. I'm doing this masterclass daily, which is called 6 Steps to 3Xing or more your real estate business in the next 12 months, regardless of the market. So I know right now it's a very challenging real estate market. A lot of people are struggling. I put this course together to ensure that you have everything that you need to crush it during this market. So this is a 3-hour in-depth training. I know it's a long time to sit, but the reason why it's 3 hours is because this is not shallow. I want to make sure that you have all the information that you need to go out there and crush it in this marketplace. But then from there, it's not just gathering the information. We got to make sure that we execute effectively as well. So at the end of the training, I give you a way to download and access the whole entire slide deck that I created as an implementation guide. So then that way you can have success at executing and taking action on this stuff. So I highly encourage you to go jump on that training right now while I have it going on. Then from there, I encourage you to schedule a 100% free 60-minute free Zoom coaching call with me personally. This gives us an opportunity, me and you, to sit down on Zoom, break down your real estate business, where your business is at, 12-month goals, long-term goals and visions, what your obstacles are that you are facing. And then from there, I'm going to break down my recommended blueprint strategy that, like, if I was to trade places with you, here's exactly what I would do to get from where you're at to where it is that you want to go in the quickest, most effective, efficient, profitable manner possible. And I promise you this, I will make sure by the end of this 60-minute free coaching call that you will know exactly what you need to do to get from where you're at to where you want to go. So both of those things can be done at gsdmode.com. Okay, so let's jump back into the content at hand. So the first thing that I want to cover with you is the 4-part objection handling framework. Now, the reason, let me just explain something that's really important before I jump into this. The reason that this framework is so important is, this is more of a mistake to make sure that you never make out there. The quickest way to piss somebody off is to tell them that they're wrong or disagree with them. So if you are talking with a prospect, and again, it doesn't matter what stage that they're in when it comes to this, right? Like we don't want to be against, we want to be together, never against, right? So when the second that they feel you're an adversary, that they feel that you are against them, that you are working for the other side or whatever that may be, boom, they're going to shut down. They're not going to listen to you. So that's really important to understand before we jump into this 4-part framework here. So the 4-part framework, and then I'll break down and explain this a little bit deeper. But part number one is to acknowledge. Part number 2 is to reaffirm. Part number 3 is to educate. Part number 4 is to lead. And we need to put all of these together. So when we talk about acknowledge and reaffirm, the first 2 parts of this is again to make sure that they feel that you are in alignment with them. And we are. Like, look, I mean, I don't know about you, but with my clients, I'm here to look out for their best interest. And I want them to make decisions that's always in their best interest. I know for me, I'm always going to abide by operating by high ethics and morals. I'm always going to work my ass off for my clients. I'm always going to put clients before commission checks. Now, that does not mean commissionectomies. And that means that I'm going to always do what's right for them. Right. So these are just some, things that I have in place, and I think that we all do. I think that we can all agree that we're going to go out there and do those things for our clients. But it doesn't matter if you have their best interests at hand and if you're looking out for their best interests, if they don't believe that you are, right? So we never want to disagree. We always want to be together. So we want to acknowledge, and then we want to reaffirm, right? So this is going to be, hey, I understand how you feel. If I were in your situation, if I were you, I would feel the exact same way that you are feeling right now. Right. So that is okay. We've acknowledged their concern because just again, I know the word objection and objection handling, and that's what we're accustomed to, but it's almost more effective, at least I found in my own mind, when I replace objection with concerns. Right. So we want to acknowledge their concern, and then we want to reaffirm that is a very valid concern. Right. So if somebody comes to me, maybe I'm on a listing presentation. And I get done presenting the comps. And then I'm like, hey, after everything that we went through here, after looking at all the comparables, along with my professional opinion, my recommended starting off list price for your home is $750,000. What are your thoughts on that? So then maybe they're like, well, we're really hoping for 800,000. Right? So, hey, I understand where you're coming from. And you have such a beautiful home. I agree with you. All day long, your home should be worth $800,000. But unfortunately, I don't set market value. You don't set market value. What buyers are willing to pay for like-to-like homes to your home in this market is what dictates market value. So like I said, I'm with you. I think your home should be $800,000. But what buyers are willing to pay right now in this market is not justifying that number. Now, let me ask you this. Based on all the comps that we just went through, is 800,000 the number that you were just hoping for? Or do you think that there is something wrong with the comparables that I've shown you? Right? Because those are 2 different objections, 2 different concerns, right? But you can see what I did there. I didn't come in and tell them that they were wrong. I mean, I did through education, of how homes are going to be appraised and all of that stuff. Like I'm going to educate them on that, but I start off with making sure that we are on the same page. So I'm going to acknowledge. So, hey, I understand where you're coming from. right? So I understand, right? Then I want to reaffirm that. So we make sure that we are together, not against. That is so damn important. Then from there, now I'm going to educate. So I'm going to make sure that they are educated properly on why that concern. And this is going to be because there's so many different concerns, so many different objections. And one thing that I want you guys to really understand, I know that we are so accustomed to being taught in this industry by all these, quote unquote gurus that, teach us all this crap. And I went through this too. I had all these people saying like, oh, well, here's the best objection handlers. And, per situation or per source, there's going to be like half a dozen different objections that you get. And once you've got those down, you got, and I found all that to be utter bullshit. Look, the human beings, because you and I are consumers too. So think about this. When you go buy a car, when you walk into, I don't know, Nordstrom's, and the person's walking up and says to you, can I help you find something? Oh no, I'm just looking. Like, dude, you're probably there to buy some shit. But what did you do? You're using objections as a defense mechanism because you don't want to be sold, or you have valid concerns. Yeah, right. But here's the thing is the consumer does not go to objection school. You and I didn't go to objection school, nor did anybody else. So most times the objection that they're giving isn't the root core objection or the root core concern. So we need to be able to further communicate with them to unpack the true root core concern, that they're having. And I'll go through some examples like on an expired here later in this, podcast with you on how to do that. But now I want to move forward to the education. Yeah, right. So, hey, here's what I've discovered. Here's, why, like I want to educate them properly so then we can move beyond that concern, right? So because sometimes these are just, wrong concerns, and sometimes they're valid concerns, right? So but I need to know what that concern is. So an example of this, just to give some specifics to make this make sense. Let's just say somebody comes to me. I go on a listing appointment and it's, I don't know, December 5th as an example. And they're like, well, we really want to wait till after the first of the year. Hey, I totally understand that. Totally get wanting to wait till after the holidays. And look, a lot of sellers and a lot of my clients right now, have that same thought process. And look, you're the boss. I work for you. Whatever you want to do, I'm going to go out there and do that. Whatever your timeline is, whatever your goals are, I'm going to do everything I can to accomplish those. But here's something to consider. And this is where I'll go into education mode. So then I'll explain that, hey, how a lot of home sellers, and this is just me telling you how I explain it to them. I'm not going to explain it, like I would in a client situation, but I'm going to explain to them how most home sellers, think that, oh, people aren't out there shopping during the holidays, so we're going to wait until after the first year to relist our house, but the fact of the matter is that, and this is where I'll pull numbers because during that time, I know I'm going to get this objection a lot. So I'll go in there and show, our historic numbers for the month of December. So yeah, are there lesser transactions happening in the month of December than the rest of the year? Yeah, it's down slightly, not much, but down slightly, but the reality is there's still, let's just say as an example, 5,800 closings on average every single December. So there's 5,800 buyers that are buying and transacting and closing on homes historically every month of December. Now, what happens though, is because most other sellers out there have the same thought that you do. So they wait until after the first of the year. And then after the first year comes, then we have this new listing wave, mass flood of new listings hitting the market. So then from there, now all these buyers that are out there shopping have many more options. That's much more competition than you would have, if you were to list right now, right? Your competition are other buyers, your competition are the other homes similar to yours for sale in the marketplace. So listing right now might be advantageous for you. Because we have less competition, meaning other sellers. So this gives us about 3 to 4 weeks to take advantage of this while there's still an abundance of buyers out there before we experience this new listing wave, which might cause you to get to net less money in your pocket, right? So I'm going to explain that to him. Now, then from there, this is where we got to unpack. Is this actually an objection? Is this a concern that is unvalid, or is it valid? Because if it's a valid concern, a valid objection, it might just be the reality of the situation. So let's just say as an example, that wasn't their thought process. They tell me they're wanting to wait till after the first of the year, and hey, yeah, no worries. I totally get that. Totally understand that. Just out of curiosity, what's what's causing you to want to, wait till after the first of the year? Oh man, well, we got, 3 sets of different family members coming in throughout the whole month of December. So we're going to have guests and entertaining, and our house is going to be a mess, and it's going to be, hard to have showings. Okay, that is no longer an objection or a concern. That's a reality of the situation, and it's probably not in their best, in their best interest to go out there and list their property right now. So we want to, once we've identified the root core concern, aka objection, now we want to educate them if needed. Yeah, right. Then from there, and why I say if needed is it's either a true objection or it's a reality of the situation. Then from there, now we want to lead. So the fourth component of the objection handling framework is now we're leading to the next stage, the next part of the process. Me pulling out the listing agreement, right, getting it signed, right, we're just leading to, okay, what is the next steps? And now me leading them and telling them what the next steps of the process are. So we want to acknowledge, we want to reaffirm, then we want to educate, then we want to lead. So that's the 4-step framework to identify and move forward with any objection or concern. And this is going to work for any situation. It's going to work for any scenario, any situation, any part of the process. So this just allows us to them to know, and I know I'm kind of beating this to death, but it's so damn important. That's why I'm being repetitive here. Allows them to know that we are together with them on their side. We are not against them, right? And then allows us to identify, because if they don't feel safe with you, if they don't feel comfortable with you, they are not going to unpack to you what that true concern is. They just go into shutdown mode. So once we've identified that root core concern, then I can educate them on why that concern, they shouldn't have that concern, or why their thought processes might be, wrong, or why they might want to consider changing what their thoughts are right now, that it's in their best interest to maybe change those thoughts, right? And then from there, leading the process accordingly. So like an example, if I got a seller right now that's like, we're probably going to wait 6 months. Okay, no worries at all. Just out of curiosity, what's causing you want to wait, possibly 6 months? And the reason why this is so important in a declining market like mine, they wait to list their home 6 months from today. That might net them $30,000 or $40,000 less in their pocket. With the way that my market is declining right now, if things all stay the same, that is probably going to be the situation. If we continue experiencing what we're experiencing right now, that is probably going to be their situation in 6 months if they wait. So then I have a fiduciary duty to look out for my client's best interests. And I don't know about you, but if I had a professional that didn't tell me that, hey, yeah, we can list now, or we can list in 6 months. I work for you. Whatever you want me to do, we'll do. But I just want you to understand what's going on with the market right now. Because if you do wait 6 months, if the market continues doing what it's doing right now, which it has been for the last, 18 months, and this is what we're seeing, and there's nothing, no signs indicating it's not going to do anything but continue following the trend it's following right now, there is a very high likelihood that when we have this conversation in 6 months, we're going to be talking about a $30,000 to $50,000 lesser list price and a lesser net in your pocket. Okay, that's a pretty good piece of information for them to have. So you got to also let them know what the true cost of waiting is. If interest rates, this is like early 2022, when interest rates were going up like 0.5% per month, we were having conversations with every buyer client, every buyer lead, just let them know that, hey, if you wait with what we're seeing right now, if we don't get you locked in now, if this continues, this is what this means, right? Like we got to make sure that we are educating and then leading that process. Okay. So now I want to pivot into communication skills to avoid and as well as identify and move forward with overall objections. Because we got the framework. So that's the process. Now let's talk about skill sets that will help you unpack these. Okay. So the first thing is tonality. Well, before I jump into going through these actual skill sets, why is this important? Okay. You need to understand that the people today are more sensitive and more easily triggered than any other time in our lifetimes. So like life has just gotten so damn good where people just get anxiety and like they're just so addicted to their comfort zone to the point that if they feel as if they are being sold, that then puts them into fight or flight mode now today, right? So people are so easily triggered and so sensitive. And I'm not here to say if that's a good thing, bad thing. It just is what it is. And I'll tell you this, man, I've learned so much more about sales and becoming good at sales by studying human behavior and human psychology than I ever have by studying anything about sales. Now, I like to study both, but I'm just telling you, like, the more that you can understand human beings and understand human behavior, the better that you're going to be at sales. So with that being said, if I know that the second somebody feels as if they're being sold, that is going to trigger fight or flight mode. That means they are looking to fight you or they're looking to flight. So fight meaning yell at you, just be difficult with you. And then flight meaning hang ups. They're just trying to get the hell out of the situation. So then with all of my communication, to have an effective communication, we got to keep them out of fight or flight mode. So I call this selling without selling. Yes, I'm selling. Yes, I'm leading the process, but I want to do it in a way where people do not feel threatened. They don't feel as if they're being sold, because I know the second that happens, holy shit, man, I've either lost them altogether or it's very difficult to get them back. So how do I keep them out of fight or flight? How do I keep them in a state where we can now have an effective conversation? That's all this is about. This is just conversations with other human beings that may or may not need your services. And the better that we get at this, the more that we'll identify those that need our services for if and when they're ready. So how this is achieved, number one, is through tone. Now, you want to make sure that you are not, it's not just about not sounding like any other realtor or real estate agents out there. It's also about not sounding like any other recent sales experience that they've had. So I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but 70% of sales is through verbal, nonverbal cues. So this is going to be through your tonality, through your body language. So it's much, much more important of how you say things versus what you're actually saying. So many people focus on the script itself, and I'm not saying scripts don't matter. I got scripts for every little thing imaginable in my real estate business too. But I also know that, okay, you and I can deliver the same script and get two totally different results. We can have, 50% variances on our conversion rates or greater, because it's more important how we say the thing that we are saying versus what we are actually saying. Now, a lot of this stuff is going to come over the phone. So this is where tonality really shines, right? Now, tonality is going to be important when you're with people in person. If you're in person, your body language, your overall energy, your body language, eye contact, all of that stuff matters and makes a difference, but again, a lot of this stuff is going to be over the phone, at least when we're setting the appointment, up to the point where we're setting appointment, and so they can't see your body language. So this is where tonality is important. And I'm telling you, like, I know that these old school sales tactics of, okay, standing up, having a mirror so you're smiling, but I'm telling you that shit, even though it sounds as goofy as it is, kind of works, but making sure that you have the right tone. So if you don't know the right tone for the right situation, my recommendation is just to start off with a very neutral tone, not overly excited, not, overly low, just kind of a neutral, softer tone. Okay. So then the next thing is your pausing and pacing. So if we look at, these quote unquote great salespeople that we think are great salespeople, that like historically, I could be like, oh, that person's a great salespeople. What do? They're polished. They talk fast, right? Again, we don't want to sound like salespeople. People are accustomed to that. So I'm going to, talk a little bit softer. I'm going to slow things down. I'm going to intentionally pause and pace. Right? Like I'm going to have different pauses, different pacing, different things. And when it comes to pausing and pacing, just to give an example here, especially when it comes to your presentations, this is really important with your presentations, because the frame of presentation, like great presentation framework, is you should inform and educate. You should articulate your value. You should identify and overcome any objections, aka concerns, and then lead seamlessly into the close. So then from there, I do not want objections to stack. I do not want concerns to stack. So before I get through, so let's just say with my listing presentation, okay, I'm going to start with a tour. Then I go into my marketing plan of action. Then I go through pricing and comps. Then I go into recommended list price, and then building out the net sheet for them based on that. Then I go through, getting the close. So before I enter the next phase of the presentation, I pause. Okay, hey, we're getting ready to go through all the comps now. I'm going to go through all the comps here in a moment with you, where then I can walk you through what my recommended list price is for your home based on what current market value is. But before we do that, with everything that we just got done going through, based on what I'm going to do to market your home to the most potential buyers out there, to drive as much traffic through your home. Because again, real estate is a numbers game. My job ultimately not is to just not net you as much as I possibly can in your pocket, but to make sure that I'm exposing your home to the most amount of people out there, most amount of potential buyers, and drive as much traffic through your home as I possibly can. Because the more potential buyers we get through your property, the higher the probability is that somebody's going to fall in love with your home and put a top dollar offer in on your property. So based on everything that I just walked you through with what my personal marketing plan of action is to accomplish that, is there any questions that you have based on what my plan of action is there? Based on everything that we just discussed, are there any questions that you have there? So before I go on to the next, because I don't want concerns stack. Because then they're going to get overwhelmed. And then at the end, if all of a sudden they have 4 concerns and then they're not moving forward, well, then it's hard for them to articulate and unpack all those different concerns. So I want to pause and pace. Hey, before we, yeah, we're getting ready to move on to this, but before we do so, do you have any questions about what we discussed so far? And you can see there, it's a slow, soft tone. Yeah, right. Even and just so you guys know, and that's why I talk about these as being communication skills. Okay, so I am a very high energy, talking fast, high energy, get shit done mofo. This is not my natural way. Yeah, right. So I have to really, and this has been skills that I've had to practice over and over and over, because how I sell is way different than what my natural personality is. Because I found if I go with how I'm wired with my natural personality, I freak people the hell out. Like once they get to know me, they might like it or enjoy it or be okay with it. But initially, it's just too much for a lot of people. So we have to have awareness of this kind of stuff. Okay, so we talked about tone, talked about pausing and pacing. So we want to slow things down. We want to pace. We want to, the slower that you talk, the more they have to hang on to every word, right? So we want, and again, polished salespeople that we can think, or we're used to thinking, oh, these people, are so good at sales, whatever. I mean, it's the least most ineffective way to go out there and sell. The best salespeople, you never even know that you're being sold to, right? This is what I talk about, selling without selling. So it's, yeah, we're leading the process. Yes, we're selling, but we want to do it in such a way where nobody feels as if they're being sold. So they don't get threatened. They don't go into fight or flight mode. We want to keep that just effective conversation going and taking place. So we want to kind of do things opposite of what we've been trained to do. Okay. So then from there, the next skill, communication skill to master, is pre-framing and reframing. So pre-framing, and I'll explain reframing here in a moment too, but pre-frame, this is so damn important. So you've all pre-framed before. So think of this. Okay. You're having a conversation with a loved one, somebody that matters to you a lot in your life, friend, family member, somebody you care a lot about, but maybe they're making some stupid ass decisions in their life. And you're like, dude, I got to sit down and have a heart to heart with this person. And you're sitting there, excuse me, you're sitting there thinking about, okay, I need to make sure that they know my intentions are in the right place. I know that I want this conversation to be constructive. I know that very quickly and easily this could be taken out of context, right? And they can think I'm against them, not with them. So you start thinking about, well, how am I going to bring this up? What should the environment be? That's pre-framing. You're pre-framing. How should I set this thing up? So with every lead source, and different lead sources can have different pre-frames, or situations can have different pre-frames, but you want to make sure that you know how to pre-frame based on what that source is. Like how I pre-frame when I'm calling a FSBO is different than how I pre-frame calling an expired. That's different than how I pre-frame following up with a buyer Facebook lead, which is different than an open house, because they're all different scenarios, situations, different timelines. So, but really thinking about, and the whole point of the pre-frame is, how do I open up our communication so then that way we can have an effective conversation, right? Becomes really, really important. So here's an example. And this is one that I use all the time. And then really going after sellers. I also use this for agent recruits, but I use this, for going after people going through a divorce. I use this for FSBOs, use it for agent recruits. This is a popular one that I use in a lot of my listing based business. But like whatever their name, let's just pretend that the name is, I don't know, Stephanie. Hey, is this Stephanie? Now, I always lead with a double stutter because I want to not sound like a salesperson. Hey, is this Stephanie? Yeah, this is Stephanie. Hey, Stephanie, this is just Joshua Smith here. I want to see if you could help me out with something really fast. You can see slow pausing. I'm trying not to sound salesy. So, hey, is this Stephanie? Yeah, this is Stephanie. Hey, Stephanie, this is just Joshua Smith here. I want to see if you could help me out with something really fast. And look, this is probably a shot in the dark, something you're probably not interested in. And if you're not, no worries at all. Just let me know. And again, no problem at all. But I just want to run it past you just in case it might be something that you have some possible interest in, right? So that's a pre-frame. The reason why that's so powerful is, okay, what salesperson leads off with, hey, this is probably a shot in the dark, something you're probably not interested in, creates curiosity. But then from there, I give them permission up front that it's okay to say no. So it's, hey, something you're probably not even interested in. And if you're not, no worries at all. Just let me know. And again, no problem at all. But I just wanted to run it past in case it might be something that you might have some possible interest in. So that's example pre-framing. Like, how do we pre-frame this so we can keep them on the phone and have an effective conversation and keep them out of fight or flight mode? Now, when it comes to reframing, right now, reframing is, okay, if any point during that conversation, if I break tone, or I accidentally say the wrong thing, and now they're going to fight or flight mode and they're going to shutdown mode. Reframing is, okay, what do I need to do or say to get them back into an effective conversation, right? So we got to, have the ability to go out there and do that. Okay, the next communication skill to go out there and master is what I call mirroring objections. Like I said earlier, one of the quickest ways to just overcome objections is just to remove them in the first place. So let's just say an example with online buyer leads, especially like, pay-per-click style leads, Facebook leads. What do they always say? Oh, we're not looking, we're just browsing. So now group this in with my pre-framing, this mirroring. But I know that the objective of every initial conversation is to identify goal, identify timeline, set the appointment if able or appropriate, if unable appropriate, because now I know goal and timeline. Now I know how to follow up accordingly to maximize the conversions for if and when they're ready. So I need to make sure on that conversation, at a minimum, I'm getting that goal and timeline, right? So then from there, if I know they're going to just say 9 times out of 10, hey, I'm just browsing, can I bring it up before they can bring it up? So do my pre-frame intro, but then as I'm going into identify goal and timeline, it's a, hey, I know you're probably just browsing, not looking to make a move now, anytime at all in the near future. So just hypothetically speaking, I mean, if you were to, make a possible move in the future, what would you see your best guesstimate to when that time frame might possibly be? 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Again, just hypothetically speaking, what would you see your best guesstimate to when that time frame might be? I'm always going to give multiple choice because people got too much on their mind. They'll shut down. They're like, well, I don't know. Yeah, right. Like, I want to just make it easy for them, but okay, I get them to open up on timeline. Once I got timeline, now I can go into identifying their goal and then moving that conversation forward. Okay, so then the last skill set to really master with this is de-anchoring. So, historically, in old school sales tactics that just are ineffective, at least I've found it, I don't know if they're really ever effective. Because for me, I've always been somebody that didn't enjoy high pressure sales. I hate when it's done to me, and I didn't want to go out there and do it to others. So, I had to learn, natural selling, which is this style of selling. I call it selling without selling because I've added my own flavor to it. But the actual, selling style that, I learned this from, 20 some years ago was, natural selling, or I guess 15 years ago, of, okay, well, how can I go out there and sell in a way that's more natural to me, natural to consumer without high pressuring and selling people, right? When it comes to this stuff. So old school sales tactics are anchor that sale. Like you got to anchor it. You got the more yeses that you can get them to say, gets them used to saying yes. Got to anchor that sale. Like, dude, people are more savvy to this shit, whether it's conscious or subconscious. Like, they know what you're doing, so we want to do the opposite. And what's most effective, I just was blessed that it just worked out. Human behavior kind of shifted to the style of selling that I enjoy. It's always worked good for me. And now that even works much more effective today than when I first started this, techniques. But de-anchoring is, instead of trying to anchor them de-anchoring example of this is when I'm using the word, like you hear me use the word possibly all the time. So just like in that script I just walked you through, with a buyer, hey, I know you're probably just browsing, not looking to make a move now, anytime at all in the near future, so just hypothetically speaking, I mean, if you were to make a possible move in the future, what would you say your best guesstimate to when that time frame might possibly be? 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, right? So like just okay, like I don't want to be the increment of okay, so when you do make a move or when you do sell, right? I want to reverse that, do the opposite of that. Okay, so if you were to, possibly consider selling, what would you say, that time frame might possibly be, right? So is this something that you're possibly considering thinking? Right? So I'm going to use de-anchor words when it comes to this, because again, the whole point of these skills is to not make them feel threatened, where they can feel comfortable with you. So then you can unpack root concerns. So, I'll give the expired. I know I said earlier, I'd give that expired example. So, okay, number one, at least right now in this market in the last couple of years, number one kind of objection that we got, it's starting to change slightly now that market's shifting, but that we were getting was, we decided to hold off. Right. And then from there, usually it's interest rates. So, let's just say, I'm talking to them. So I'm identified, where I'm calling, I went through I'm not going to go through the whole script here, but I've already went through the pre-frame, opened up, why they feel their home didn't sell. And then now again, I'm trying to get into goal and timeline. So then I ask them, hey, just out of curiosity, where were you looking at moving to? They open up, we were looking to relocate down to, Sarasota, Florida. Oh, great. Sarasota. I've heard it's beautiful. I've never been, but I hear it's beautiful. What's bringing you there? What's in Sarasota? So just moving that conversation forward. They're telling me, we want to retire there. We got friends there. That's, right. Just pretending like this is a conversation you're having with a neighbor. Now I want to get, so now I know goal. Now I want to get in a timeline. Well, it looks like you were maybe trying to possibly make this move happen sooner than later. Is that still the goal, or have maybe things changed? So then now I want to know, okay, like, look, are they still planning on making this move now, or are things changed? Right. And then from there, let's just say they're like, well, we decided to hold off. Yeah. Hey, no worries at all. I totally get and understand wanting to put things on hold, just out of curiosity, what's causing you to want to possibly hold off? Well, with prices, with interest rates right now, we've decided to, hold off. Now, I told you earlier, like we want to be in agreement, not, you don't want to come at them. Well, interest rates historically are not that high, right? Like we don't want to come across that bullshit. Nobody cares what interest rates are. Understand that. Nobody gives a shit if they're 6%, 4%, 8%. What they care about is the affordability of that property. So what they're saying is it's not that the interest rate is 8% versus 3%. What they're saying is, dude, the monthly payment is way out of our comfort zone. So I'm just going to agree with them. Hey, yep, totally get that. And I totally understand that. And look, I've been doing this for 20 years and I never thought I would ever see a point in time where prices would be so high. With interest rates where they're at, seeing monthly payments where they're at, I never thought I'd see anything like this. It's just been absolutely mind blowing. And it's making it, it's making it really hard out there for, a lot of other home sellers and home buyers in the current marketplace. So I totally understand, wanting to hold off because of that. Now, let me ask you this. And look, I'm not promising that this is something that is a possibility, could be a shot in the dark, but I'm never one to give up on a client. So if it was possible, or I was able to get your home sold within the time frame that you wanted and needed and netted you the amount that you needed, and then we were able to find you the exact home that you were looking for, and then on top of that, we were able to figure out a way to get your monthly payments in the range that you need. If that was a possibility, and like I said, this could be a shot in the dark. I don't want to promise you that it is, but like I said, I'm never one to give up on a client. So if that was a possibility, then from there, would you then have some interest in, possibly moving forward? So slow, soft tone, I just want to get a gauge on it. So then if they say, now, if interest rates were the root, if affordability was the root core concern, objection, and I'm asking them, okay, if we could remove that and get you the exact home that you want at the exact payments that you want and need, that's in your comfort zone, that is doable, then would you want to move forward? If that was the root core concern, they're going to say yes. Yeah, we would still move forward then. Now I can educate them on how we're doing that for customers. But then if they're like, I don't know, I don't think so, we still want to hold off. Yeah, hey, no worries at all. Again, I'm always going to agree. No worries at all. So it sounds like maybe there's something in addition to the high prices and interest rates that are causing them want to hold off. What else might that possibly be? So then now I can unpack what that root core concern is But here's the thing. If you don't make them feel comfortable with you, this is why tonality, pausing, pacing, pre-framing, reframing, mirroring objections, de-anchoring, that's why all the combination of all these skills come into fruition and become so damn important. Because if you can't identify that root core concern, you're never able to go out there and acknowledge, reaffirm, educate, and lead that process accordingly to go out there and convert them. So we went through the 4-part objection handling framework and recommended communication skills that you master to be able to handle real estate objections at the highest possible level. So I hope that you found this helpful. Again, before we wrap up here, make sure to check out gsdmode.com. Jump on my free 3-hour in-depth hardcore training, 6 steps to 3xing your real estate business in the next 12 months. And if it would be beneficial for you, which I can promise you it will be for all of you watching and listening to this, you can schedule a 60-minute free Zoom coaching call with me personally. Now, this is a one-time thing, right? So if you booked one in the past with me, sometimes I'll get somebody that thinks that they can just take advantage of these and get free coaching from me. No, it's just, because I want to be able to serve and support as many of you as I possibly can. So if you haven't done one of these previously, recommend that you jump on. I won't let you down. I'll make sure that before we leave that call, you know exactly what you must do to get from where you're at to where you want to go. And again, you can access and register for both of those at gsdmode.com. All right, truly appreciate all of you. Hopefully this was helpful. Keep crushing it, and I'll see you next time. Peace.